Let's go.
Back to my channel. Today I'm going to speak with a school board candidate, um, Trina Christensen, who is running in District 8. And you guys, this is important regardless of whether or not you are in her district or in any other district. We want to get the message out of who's running, because we want to inform and empower parents to make the best decisions. And every single seat that is on that school board matters, because they're voting for the entire state. So I wanted to interview as many people as were interested in being interviewed. Some people have flat out told me no, but I wanted to interview those people who are interested in being interviewed and really get their stories out, get why they're running out, let you see them kind of behind the scenes in a very casual conversation. So thanks so much for checking in. And please write your respectful questions and comments, and I will try to get to them before we wrap up. So thank you, Trina. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Carrie, for having me. I am excited to be here and talk with you today.
Well, let's just jump in. Why did you decide to run for school board?
I know that I get that question a lot because people are like, it is not a fun job to be on the state school board. So why would you want to do it? I did not become a teacher to run for state school board. It was not something that's ever been on my radar. In full transparency, I have a little story to kind of let you know how this came to be. So I was running our after school program. This is my 14th year doing that. And 2.5 hours before the filing deadline, I got a panicked phone call from someone who I very much respect. And they said, Trina, do you live in West Jordan? I said, yes, I do. And it was just so random. I'm like, why are you asking me this weird question? And then they're like, and then they started talking to me about school board stuff. And I'm like, oh no, are you going to ask what I think you're going to ask? And they did. They said, you know what, Trina, over the years, we've really seen your leadership and how you excel at bringing people together collaboratively, creatively. We know that you love kids. We know that you know how to advocate for kids, and you do so happily and successfully at the Capitol. We need your voice on the state school board. What do you think? Would you be willing to run? And I said, well, it's never been something I've thought about. And they're like, but here's the thing, you also can't think about it because the filing deadline is in 2.5 hours. And we really apologize. We didn't realize you lived in this particular district, that we were looking for someone incredible for years. And so I said, oh, well, I can't make a decision without my husband. So can I call you right back? And I thought for sure my husband would be like, what are you thinking? No, you don't have time. You have 5 kids. You're a busy professional woman, right? You don't do it. I called my husband and he's like, so you have 2 people believing in you to run, right? You know that they would not recommend that you do this if they didn't believe in your abilities and have confidence in you 100%. He's like, what do you feel? And I'm like, it's kind of weird. I actually feel good about it. I said, I think I can do it. We're in a different phase of life. My youngest is now 14. If you would have asked me 5 years ago, I would have said, no, my kids are too little, right? But again, different phase of life. I've had different experiences that has trained me to be able to learn how to work with parents and empower them. And so I said a quick prayer because I am a woman of faith and I can't do anything, without the Lord's help, honestly. And so I said a quick prayer.
You froze.
Father, absolutely knew that this is exactly what I needed to do. And so I said, okay, well, now we have 2 hours until the filing deadline. So you have to clear the way and make it happen. So I drove from West Valley at the school and went to the Salt Lake County office building, where I found a parking spot right in the front. That never happens towards the end of the day. And I walked into the wrong building, but with an employee who said, ma'am, can I help you? And he walked me to the other building, connected me with someone in the room at a spare computer. And when I started filling out the paperwork, they said, okay, This next part can take up to 20 minutes, but don't worry if it takes longer than 10, we'll call up. And I kept looking at my watch, being like, I don't know that we're going to make the deadline. So lo and behold, I clicked submit, and 2 minutes later, I was approved. So then I got back to campus. So start to finish, it took 1 hour start to finish with me leaving my campus in West Valley, filing, and getting back to campus in West Valley. So it was an incredible story. Exactly. And people are like, Trina, that never happens. And I'm like, I know, that's how I know that this is indeed the path that I should be on right now at this point in time, because powers beyond my control are paving and clearing the way before me.
What do you see as the biggest thing that you can bring to the school board?
So I love to power forward with positivity. We can be in the thick of really crazy topics, and I have a unique perspective where I'm able to pick and choose everyone's ideas and put them together in a collaborative manner so I can bring everyone together along in a unified journey. Right now, we very much need that on the state school board, because all of us have different experiences in education. We have our own ideas, but we need to come together to do what's best for public education and for our students and their families and the teachers that we serve.
And what do you feel is best? What would be the ideal education for K-12 kids?
Sure. So something that I've been hearing a lot about from my constituents are about sensitive materials and the subject matter that their kids are being taught. I believe that families and students should not fear what they are going to be taught, what books they are going to encounter every single day. I also know that there are some school districts that are not quite following the law right now as far as sensitive materials go. And I believe that there should be accountability for those districts that are not following the law. And that is something that I hope to be able to do, is to be a bridge, be a resource to know what is happening in my community so that I can help to rectify that in real time and make sure that change gets affected quickly rather than months or years down the road. I know that there are some constituents too that feel, why bother reaching out to someone on the state level? It's not like you care. I care. I love all of our students. I believe in the success of each and every one of our children. I also, with my experience in my after school programs that I have created, I know how to work with parents. I know how to empower them, to connect them with tools, tips, tricks, resources so that they know how to best help their children at home. I know a lot of parents are feeling like they are tapped out. They don't know what to do because they don't have the resources. I actually have created some parent training programs where I have helped parents successfully know how to talk to their kids, how to help them with homework. We just have to be more creative in getting those resources to our parents to empower them to be the champions and leaders of their child's education that I know that they can be.
I love that you're saying that, because it does feel like there's a war between parents and educators.
Absolutely.
And you're not supposed to, either one of two things. Either you're not supposed to get involved as a parent, or you get involved and you're considered a troublemaker as a parent. But if parents have the right tools to effectively advocate, I think that that would really do a lot to help the really kind of dire situation that I see. And now I'm a little bit more black-pilled than you, but the dire situation that I see for a lot of kids. Now, you made a video that I watched, and you were talking about growing up kind of rough.
Yeah.
And would you mind talking a little bit about that and what you bring as a teacher because of what you saw or what you experienced?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So I grew up in Rose Park. For those of you that don't know where Rose Park is, it is in downtown Salt Lake City. I lived on 400 North, which when the Utah State Fair was happening, we would go out to my back porch and we would listen to the music. I'm going to date myself right now, but my favorite group back in the day was a family group called the Jets. And whenever they would perform on stage, I would be dancing on the patio on my back porch. My mom was a single mom for many, many years, for about 6 years. My parents were divorced when I was younger, and my mom did the best that she could. And I had a wonderful grandma who watched me during the day. She actually owned a flower shop downtown in Rose Park. It was called Hannah's Flowers. And I had a job of cleaning up her floral snippings, and I learned how to just watch and be around her. But she was my babysitter. I went to Jackson Elementary, which was a Title I school, also in downtown Salt Lake City. Sadly, that was one of the schools that Salt Lake City School District closed. That holds a very special place in my heart. And one of my best friends actually grew up, she and her whole family grew up playing the violin. And she lived 3 houses down from me, and I was always over at her house. She's my best friend, right? And so there was just something about that instrument that I knew I needed to play it. It was just something calling out to my soul, right? But my mom was a single mom, and so she didn't have the means for music education. And she was like, Trina, I really wish I could. We can't afford lessons. I can't afford an instrument. I got it, right? However, 4th grade is when Salt Lake City School District allowed you to take orchestra for free. So I was so excited when I came home with that flyer saying that I could take orchestra for free and they would provide an instrument for free. So I said, Mom, please, 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 please. I found a way. Please say yes. And she's like, I can't say no. You waited. It was years that I had, like 4 years that I had to wait. And so from there, that really helped me to develop that internal drive, to also know what it was like having a dream, wanting something that was just beyond my reach. So that has helped to drive my passion for clearing the way and helping students who, from the time that they are young, be able to do music education. So right now, fast forward, for 14 years, I have been running an after-school music program for free for Title I students between 2 sites. We serve about 500 students annually, actually over 500 students. And again, it's free music education in string instruments, piano, band, bucket drumming even. But most importantly, we are also helping them succeed academically. And so I have had to help create academic student success plans where we work with their teachers, their parents, the students, and our staff to help them to complete their homework, to get them the necessary help and interventions that they need. We also are able to communicate with our SPED team here at the schools that we work at, so that we know how to best implement the IEP and 504 accommodations that our students have. And so it's incredible coming together with that amount of teamwork from everyone to help everyone be successful, because we want our students to promote to each grade and want and develop that love of learning, so that they will either go on to college or develop a trade, so that they can change that life trajectory of their families. A lot of our families experience intergenerational poverty, and we are trying to empower them to break that cycle of intergenerational poverty.
I love everything that you just said. Let's talk about empowerment, because I have found growing up and aging out of the foster system, right? Mm-hmm. So I have some pretty strong views on what real resilience is. Mm-hmm. And I have found that over the last couple of years, the conversation on resilience has been anything but for a lot of kids. It's been, how can we accommodate? How can we make sure you are not uncomfortable? How can we not push too hard? What are your thoughts on that? I mean, I know that you work for a charter school, and so, and it values, well, you go from there.
Perfect. Thank you. That's a really great question, Carrie. And I truly believe that we need to hold our expectations high. I know, I've experienced my own children, the students that I work with. When we hold the expectations high and we believe in our students and that they can achieve those high expectations, they rise to that occasion each and every time. So often now we lower the bar, which is heartbreaking to me, because what message are we giving to our students? We're saying, we don't believe in your full success, that you can do it. So we're going to lower the bar to make it easier for you. However, I think that can be part of the reason why our test scores might not be as high, right? Because we're lowering those expectations. We're not holding the expectations high and helping the students to reach those high expectations that we know that they can do because we believe in them. What I have found is when I believe in my students first, they start to believe in themselves. And that's how the expectations get raised in their own eyes, because I started to believe in them first, and I'm giving them the tools that they need to connect the pieces to reach those high expectations and soar.
I love that. Let's talk about one of the harder things. I mean, we're both minority, I think. So,
I'm half Japanese. So,
okay. Diversity, equity, inclusion, sometimes rebranded as student success. There's lots of different ways in which, or even social and emotional learning. What are your thoughts on those subjects?
So my thoughts on that is DEI does not have a place in our classrooms. Our first and foremost focus should always be on academics. Right now, there's too many ideologies, theories that our students are learning and encountering every day. Like I said before, we should not be having any material that goes against families' beliefs, their students' beliefs, or making them feel uncomfortable. We need to always strive for the best in academics. We are the state school board, and our job is to provide an incredible, wonderful public education model and system for our students to thrive and be successful adults.
So, how about what kind of accommodations do you think that any accommodations should be made based on poverty levels? I think we could probably both agree, and absolutely correct me if I'm wrong here, but race, color, melanin count doesn't really affect a child's academic success capability.
Correct. I would agree with that. Yes, absolutely. I understand that a lot of people have very strong feelings and thoughts on that. But I have found that regardless of the color of a student's skin or what race they are, if you hold those expectations high and you work together with the parents to help them to know what they need to do and how they can best help their children, they want what's best for their child, always and forever. And if you work together as a team, I like to think of teaching as a three-legged stool or a triangle, right? You have to have all of those pieces of the stool or the triangle working. That is the student, the parent, and the teacher together, or it's not functional. I have created programs that it is functional for every demographic, regardless of poverty level, regardless of what country people come from. And parents are excelling in helping their child be successful. Students are successfully promoting from one grade to the next. It was fun because we just had high school graduation and for my child, and looking up, I saw so many of our after school program children that graduated this year, and they started when they were in kindergarten. And they have become incredible people. Not only are we helping people to get a good education and know how to best excel as adults and hopefully be successful in their futures, but we're creating noble hearts, great hearts, and wonderful people who hold the doors open for people who want to make their communities a better place, right? We have some of our alumni who credit their success to our after school program because of the tools that they had to learn, the resilience that was built through practice and hard work, and my expectations that I held them to on a daily basis. There's one of our students that is going into biomedical engineering, and she said, Mrs. Christensen, the only reason why I got into my fellowship programs and I've been able to travel the nation lecturing on the research that I did for them is because of this program. You helped to prepare me. And that is something that I want all of our students to know, is that when I say I believe in them, I truly do. I want to be active in the community. I want the students to know me. I don't want them to just see my picture and be like, they look kind of sort of familiar. I want to be out at community events. I want to know what's working. I want to know what's not working. If I don't know what needs to be fixed in my community, I can't best address it. I want to be the voice of parents and teachers and students on the state school board. Again, I will be active. I will do research. People are like, how will you know what is best to vote on? Will you be swayed either one direction? I vote with my integrity. I also, like I mentioned before, I am a woman of faith. And so I do so after much prayer and reflection as well. And if I don't feel that it is what is best for students, and it doesn't help and support parents as partners and teachers to do their job to teach in the classroom, then I will not approve it. Those will always be the questions that I will ask myself. Is it what's best for kids? Does it help support our parents as partners? And are we helping or hindering our educators in the classroom? They have a really hard job in the classroom. And so I don't want to create more rules, more reports that prevents them from doing what they do best by teaching in the classroom.
Do you teach in the classroom as well, or is your full-time?
I have in the past, yes. So I have seen education from every angle as a mom at the kitchen table. I have been in the classroom. I have volunteered actually in the classroom, reading books during lunch as well. So I know what it's like being a classroom teacher. I know what data is needed. I also am an administrator right now in a program at the school. So I kind of see the perspective of everything, and that's that unique kind of perspective that I think that I could really bring, where I know what it's like to be a parent of diverse learners. My second child is actually autistic. And so I have navigated waters through special education. I know what it's like. I also know that our SPED students are incredible, and they can do what we want them to do if we have the right accommodations and if we have that team support with the teachers, the parents, and the students as well.
One of my biggest concerns is the concept of oikophobia. Have you heard of that?
I have not.
Okay, oikos is home, phobia, fear. So fear or loathing of your home.
Mm-hmm.
And it does seem to me that there are a lot of people. I was recently speaking at a school presenting a civics program, and the kids did not have an allegiance towards the country, nor did they have really an understanding of things. So when they hear the word free, there's not a gratitude that comes with it. There's just of course it's free. We deserve it.
Yeah.
How can we change that? Also, do you also find that a problem? Do you recognize that as a problem in your schools? And also, in what ways can we begin to right that ship?
Absolutely. I have absolutely seen that it is a problem moving forward. Even at some of our school events that we have, we always start with the Pledge of Allegiance and we sing the national anthem. However, when I look around the room, not everyone has their hand over their heart, right? We always start with our hand over our heart to show how much we love, because we're covering our heart. We love our country. We are grateful for our freedoms and the liberties that we have in this incredible country of the United States of America. What I would like to be able to do, I think it's important that we continue offering and having the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States flag in schools, but that we not only say it, the students have to understand what the words mean. Right? I pledge allegiance. What does the word allegiance mean? Right? To the United States of America. They need to have a sense of pride with the freedoms that they are able to experience and have. I've worked with a lot of refugee and immigrant families as well. And for the most part, most of them are extremely grateful for the freedoms that they have here in the United States. We're talking about families coming from Africa, war-torn Afghanistan, right? Where they are surrounded by turmoil and nothing positive, And what we need to do, and the state school board is getting back to this nice place with their new social studies curriculum that is out being vetted right now, to get back to the fundamentals of our founding fathers, why we do what we do, why we have, what sacrifices were made. We need to get back to the fundamentals of our United States history so that our students know and can appreciate the sacrifices that have been made and continue to be made by our soldiers and our officials moving forward to preserve these liberties and freedoms that we have. So that is something that I would like to be able to see more of, the understanding, the doing of the Pledge of Allegiance, singing the national anthem. I think that is so important. I'm a musician, so music first and forever always will be something very important to me. At our school, we actually sing one of the verses that talks about, and this be our motto, in God is our trust. That is something too that I know people are like, but it talks about religion. But our founding fathers designed the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution because of their belief in a higher power. And we need our students to be able to know and recognize that, whether they believe it or not. That is just a fact of history that we should grow to love and honor, regardless of if you believe that there is a higher power or not. That is how it was designed and has been successful for 250 years. That is so incredible. That's not by coincidence, right?
Great. Sorry, I've lost. So you were saying that our immigrant children. So tell me about this, because a lot of times people feel that, take for example, books.
Mhm.
These stories must mirror the children in them, or must mirror the experience, specifically of their race, sometimes of their gender. How do you navigate that?
I think you have to be just selective of what books you choose. Again, subject matter should never make a child feel uncomfortable. It should not make their parents feel uncomfortable, and it should not go against their values that their families have, right? I have been very selective in, like, there were some students of mine who were Black, and they said there is not one children's book that has a positive message with someone who looks like me, right? And so I had to be very selective, but I did find some very wholesome books that had children that were Black, and just the light in their eyes when that happened was incredible. And they're like, I do matter. You do see me. You did hear me. But it does take work. We can't just choose the first book we come across. We have to read it cover to cover and know that it is wholesome, it is age level appropriate, and that it helps to support and promote those same values that their families have, instead of their families being like, why did you give this book to my child? Because we don't believe in this, right? But it is possible. It's just you have to do that work to vet the materials appropriately.
Right. I actually support programs where before the books come in, the work's been done.
Absolutely.
Instead of trying to get it out afterwards.
Absolutely. Well, and people have asked me that question too. They're like, what would you have done differently with a lot of the controversial books, the books that are getting banned? And I told them, I said, if I am putting my stamp of approval on a book, I need to have read it cover to cover. If I have not read it cover to cover and I don't know exactly what is in it, it will not get my approval. And I think we need to go through a same approval process. We need to know the subject matter. Like, there are some books that have been approved in some school districts that score 4 out of 5 on the adult content. How on earth did those get into our schools to begin with? We're talking middle schools and high schools even. When it's subject matter I didn't even know in college.
Right.
We need to have a better system in place to vet the materials so that we don't allow harmful subjects, uncomfortable subjects that go against what our students and our families believe. We need to improve that system.
That gets very hard when half of the people, maybe not half, a vocal minority wants these things in, and this is what they believe and this is what they want for our children. One thing I always like to clarify is that the books aren't technically banned.
Yes, correct.
So because a lot of people will come up and basically when they're asking you that question, they want to hear what they want to hear. But
yeah, absolutely. But what I do love is that now we have more laws in place to help guide the districts to make those calls now. What I would like to see moving forward are those books not even getting into the schools to begin with?
And that's a hard one because the American
Exactly.
Library Association has this very
Correct.
strong goal of what they're doing. Like,
Correct.
this is intentional. Think Brave New World.
I know, exactly. Exactly. But I don't like, I wouldn't want my own children to come home and being
Right,
like, Mom, guess what I learned about today? And have it
right,
be like, that's very concerning to me. And
right.
we have to do all that we can. If there's a loophole somewhere in a law, let's collaborate with legislators to close that loophole so that we can keep our kids safe and focused on the academic learning and progress that we would like to see coming from public education.
I feel like you've answered this one pretty well, but I just want to stress that word safety, because a lot of times people use safety in ways that, in my opinion, aren't. How do you describe safety in a school?
So, safety for me means that a child is comfortable to be able to explore new learning concepts, new things, try hard things. As we know, math is, I'm just going to give you a little example. Math is not my forte, it never has been my forte. However, if you have the right positive environment that is conducive to learning, students will be willing to try new things, to experiment with trying harder things and putting themselves out there, even if they don't 100% understand the concept. They will try it, they will be successful, and they will learn the concept. We need to make sure that, to me, is what safety is, that our students feel safe to explore academic learning how it should be, with all different learning styles, to have kinesthetic opportunities, to be able to, again, I'm a musician, so I always am very much and audio and visual type learner myself. But I want them to have those oral skills. I want them to be able to try. But if we're not allowing our students to know that we believe in them, that we want them in our class, and that we know this is hard, but we know that if they try, they will get it. That we need to get back to that place to help them be safe to try hard things, right?
Right. Oftentimes when I hear the term resilience, I see the opposite. I see you can leave class to hug a stuffed animal for
Right.
the rest of the hour. And I just think that's not
No. Yeah.
allowing, especially when you work with underprivileged kids.
Mhm.
And underprivileged, I think it's important to explain that underprivileged doesn't mean a racial group of
It
kids.
does not. No. Exactly. And a lot of people think it does, right?
Right.
And it does not. I always like to say that underprivileged means low income
Mhm.
more than, a certain race, right? But I work with them every single day and have for 14 years. I have seen them be successful. We have had students come to us knowing no English, speaking no English, coming to our school, staying after school. And we have had to get creative to help them to practice their vocabulary, to help them to, know how to understand what to do on their instrument, for example. But given their English classes, to carry on a very simple conversation, but going from no English to a simple conversation is incredible. We have some refugee students that started this year. When I would ask them questions, this was their response. They would look at me and say nothing, or maybe yes, no. Now I can have a full-on conversation with them. And these were students that spoke no English because they came from a refugee camp, right? So it is possible, but you do have to work as a team with the teachers and the students and the parents. But it is possible. I have done it successfully, and I am excited to bring that perspective and those strategies to the state school board so that we can hopefully implement those same type strategies across the board to help our students.
What do you think divides us the most today?
I don't see an awful lot of cross collaboration between charter schools and public school districts. What I would like to see, like public schools have always had superintendents and so forth, right? Charter schools exist for innovation. They have tried some really great innovative ideas that are really successful. We need to get every superintendent from charter schools, from public school districts together for idea sharing. What problems, what issues are you having? I would bet that an issue that one school district might be having, there's already something that has been tried and true and successful. Why can't we idea share and share what's working so that we can implement it instead of trying and going on this endless hamster wheel of trying new things and not knowing what works? We already have the data. We already know what works, but let's get everyone together to share the resources. Like, I know a lot of the charter schools would be happy to share with some of the public schools what works really well for them, right? But there's just not that opportunity. And to me, being on the state school board, we should be able to bring the superintendents together like-mindedly, because what is our mission? To make sure that every child in the state of Utah receives a wonderful, free public education. We need to be able to have that opportunity to share what's working. I even know that in same school districts, there are some schools that are really, really great, and there are some schools that are struggling. But the ones that are really, really great don't have an opportunity to share those strategies that are working really well for them to help the struggling schools. Again, if we have something that's working, why not share so that we can help each other out? Because why are we doing this? For our students. They are our world leaders, our doctors, our lawyers, our governors moving forward. And we need to create a system where we're not always reinventing things that aren't working. If it's working, great, let's talk about it and how we can best implement it.
I love that. So you've said charter and public. What are your feelings about homeschool?
I believe in a parent's right to choose what is best for their families. Again, I have 5 children of my own. One of them is autistic. So we started in a public school, elementary school. My daughter was bored out of her mind, right? Because she was very smart, but she wasn't smart enough to test out and into their gifted and learning program that the district had. So at every parent-teacher conference, they would say, I know she's bored, but there's nothing else more I could do for you. And on the flip side, I had a kindergartner who was autistic, right? He would come home every day with behavior infractions, nothing positive, and he had a miserable time at school. So I had those very vast, different experiences, right? Fast forward, I had the opportunity to get them into a charter school where they were, put into individual and independent groups based on their intellectual levels, where they soared and they excelled. Most of the successful models I have seen in other public education systems across the nation have a kind of tiered system like that, where if students are put into models, into classes that are on their intellectual level, they are stimulated, there's less behavior issues, their test scores improve because they are challenged. They're not bored. You know what happens when kids are bored? They get into mischief, right? Our own children, if they're bored, will get into mischief. You know what I'm saying? So we need to make sure that we have a model that we're using that challenges our students. Again, holding those expectations high, not being like, oh, we're going to keep you down here because we don't believe in you. That needs to go away. We believe in you. We know you can achieve, and let's get you there.
Let's pull around to the conflict that you've had in terms of having not been a registered Republican. Mm-hmm. First off, do you feel that there's a difference between conservatives and Republicans today?
I've always considered myself to be a conservative. I've not always been a Republican on record. However, the conservative values are my core, right? So I have always considered myself a conservative. Most of the conservatives they're Republican, right? Was I a Republican on record? No. Did I know that I wasn't? No. I voted at every general election, right? And in talking with a lot of the other state school board members, they were in my same boat. They didn't know that they were unaffiliated until they went to file. And they're like, let's rectify that right now, right? So it was like no big deal when I went to file because I always have voted Republican. I have Republican values, conservative values to my core. Again, I believe that students should always come first. I believe that parents can be the leaders and champions of their child's education. I believe that educators should be supported. And I am excited to bring that perspective and that voice to the state school board.
And we didn't get too much into the homeschool thing. So what I want to know there is, do you support openly school choice?
Of course, absolutely. There is not, I wish I could say there is a cookie cutter, one size fits all model to learning. There's not. Each child is so, so different. The parent should know that it's okay for them to choose. They know their child best. They know their family circumstances best. And if it's homeschooling, great. I support that. If they want to go charter, wonderful. If you want to do public education, lovely, wonderful. We have options here in Utah, and we are very blessed to be able to have those options. And I absolutely support all school choice here in the state of Utah, because again, what other state has so many different options readily available to implement than we do here? And students and families should be able to have that power to choose what is best for their child. I know many families that it's kind of a hybrid model. Some of them go to public school, some of them go to a charter, some of them are homeschooled because of their interests, right? And that works best for them, and that's what their family chooses, and I support that choice.
So tell me again, your core principles. You said at your core, you're Republican. What would you consider your core principles to be? What drives you?
Oh, what drives me? Our Constitution drives me. I am grateful for that wonderful document that helps to outline what we do and what rights we have. The Declaration of Independence is another document that without it, our country would not be the powerful country that it is right now, where we have the freedoms of religion and the liberties that we have to enjoy such a happy life, right? I love our country. I am grateful every day for my ancestors immigrating from Japan, coming here so that I could grow up with the freedoms that I enjoy today.
I'm sorry, can I ask this? Did they go to internment camps?
They absolutely did. Yes. My grandparents and earlier were all in the internment camps. They actually were at the internment camp in Hart Mountain, which is located in Wyoming. And my grandfather was one of the Japanese Americans who enrolled and enlisted in the Army because the internment camps were terrible. So I could have had the kind of ideas of, woe is me, my family's endured this hardship, but we never let that become an excuse for us to not be our very best, to not work our very hardest, to not make the world a better place around us. And I truly believe that anyone, despite their circumstances, can achieve whatever they would like to if they try hard enough and we connect them with the right resources and believe in them.
I love that. And I would almost wrap up on that one. But one of the things that I've heard recently, actually several times, is that teachers are inherently more socialist than not. What separates you from that ideology? Or do you think that it's true that teachers are inherently more socialist?
I think it depends on, there's certain expectations in certain school districts than not, right? There are some teachers that are more socialist, where they feel like their hands are tied, where they can't hold expectations. There can't be consequences for students based on the feedback that they have gotten from their administration. I would like to see that changed. We need to hold our students accountable. We can still hold them accountable with love, while still having a life lesson so that they know that they need to correct those behaviors. Right now, we're kind of in a hamster wheel with student behavior not being a positive. one, because there are so many policies around student behavior that and a lot of teachers don't feel that their administrators are supporting them. I would like to see, again, from an administrator standpoint myself, I know what it takes to support teachers and make sure that they have the tools needed. Do the admin need additional supports? As the state school board, do we need to give more training materials or supports to the superintendents to then give to the principals, right? Like, there's creative ideas. We need to think outside of the box. We need to come together, because our same ideas of what have been working are not working. Our test scores are plummeting. They are not improving. We have to hold those expectations with our students, but that starts from believing in them and having admin that support. It's a whole kind of life cycle, right? It starts from the top down. We need to have an administration that knows how to support the teachers. The teachers know how to work with the parents. The parents respect the teachers, right? That's another thing that we need to get back to, is having that place of respect for the teachers, because we need to see those teachers as the respected professionals that they are. And again, we can work together. There is a way to work together, to have all of us come together to help our students be successful. I want all of the teachers to also know that I am here to support them. I am one of them. I have been in the classroom. I want to make sure that whatever decision, whatever new policies are put into place, I think of from the classroom level on up. I don't want to start from the top down like it has been, because oftentimes there are policies, legislation passed where it's impossible to implement, right? I want to make sure that we have the framework put into it before we go to the legislators to advocate and say, here's the framework that we recommend, starting from the classroom level up to the administration, to implement this new law. And that's the practicality that I would like to see implemented moving forward to help our teachers. But again, I also want our parents to know that they have the control of their child's education. It is up to them to follow through up at home, in their home, to make sure that their children are academically successful. If they don't enjoy the journey that their kids are having in school, nothing's going to improve. But if you celebrate even the smallest thing, let's say if they're struggling with sight words, but yet they got 3 in a row perfectly, celebrate that. That is to be celebrated. It's a huge, momentous occasion, right? I'd like to be able to let the parents know that it's okay to celebrate those little things, to empower them. And I want our kids to love education, to love their school experience. I really, really do, because if they're not enjoying the learning process, or if they're always stressed about tests, then we're not doing our job as a state school board.
Well, and I think one of the things that was hard for me running myself and also watching is that there are schools. I am familiar with your school, and there are schools that kids love to be at. There are schools where it is very success driven.
Yeah.
And if you fail one moment of the day, that's one moment, and you have the rest of the day, and the next day you get a clean slate. Those things are amazing. Now, one thing that I would push back on, because I am that kind of person, is I know in 2020, when the pandemic happened, we started getting all of these things. Trust your teachers, they're the experts. But then we found, unfortunately, that there were teachers who were pushing things that, as parents, or even other teachers, because I do have teachers who send me messages at 11:35 at night. Can you, the 35 specific, right?
Yeah.
But can you do anything about what's coming into my school? Because this does not seem right. Right. And so it's hard to find that place of, yes, they're the experts in this class, in this subject. You're the experts in your child's life. And also, I just want to rebuild the bridge.
Absolutely. Well, and something that the state school board right now is working on are improving their standards. We have specific standards, right? It is up to the school districts to follow those standards. We give them the creative flexibility to vet their own curriculum. But as parents, you have to be vigilant to know what curriculum your school district
Is considering.
is approving, right? And considering. That's what I would say. If you don't like the curriculum that your school district is using, it is because the members of your school district board approved it. And so if you don't like it, then change needs to happen. I wish I could say the state school board, that's what we do. We don't. We set the standards, but it's up to the districts to follow the standards. And the way that I would like to look at things is if there are too many loopholes, right, where districts are able to take a standard and openly interpret it to be too far out there, where it makes the subject material go against values and make students and families uncomfortable, then we need to work to improve those standards or those laws. And again, like I've said, I know how to successfully legislate up on the Hill and get that to happen.
Well, Trina, I feel so much more at ease because people reached out to me and said, please interview her. And I watched your video and I did see that word lived experience. And for me, that was like,
I know.
when I say there are people who will see a red flag,
Right.
I am one of them.
Yes.
But my whole thing is absolutely what you said. Like, you put me at so much ease by just saying that kids should feel comfortable.
Yes.
The
Yes.
hardest thing for me to watch was my son graduate and for him to tell me, Mom, I kind of applied that walk softly and carry a big stick, but my stick's invisible. And that should not be the experience that our kids have. And I really feel that if you get on the board, there's less of a chance of that happening. I love that you have all of this experience because we've got some good people there who don't have that experience,
Right.
and they need somebody to pull them along and to lead them in that. And also, I know that classically liberal schools tend to be willing to listen to this side and to this side and to let the best ideas rise to the top.
Correct.
Which is, they're all things that we really, really need. I am
agreed.
So worried about our kids. And I really, really wish you the best. I want to know if there's anything else that you want to address before we wrap up.
I've had a lot of questions about, well, what experience do you have? Why should we vote for you?
Yeah.
I am a music educator of 30 years. First and foremost, I am a mom. I'm wearing this necklace. It has 5 hearts on it right here, one for each of my kids. I always wear this necklace whenever I go to a meeting or an interview because they're my why. And it is also my reason for knowing that I love all children, all students in the state of Utah. I also, like I mentioned, I have run and created successful programs helping students and parents be academically successful. I know how to work together with people. I've served on national boards that have tackled very sticky situations. And I have a very unique skill set where I'm able to bring people together, incorporating each other's ideas so that we can arrive at a resolution and a solution that will help our kids be successful. I look forward for this opportunity. And again, Carrie, thank you for having me on.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And I love that first and foremost are a mom. That is not something that should be secondary. So I love it. So wonderful. Thank you so much. Have a great one.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.